Welcome to Real Estate Investing Live. I'm Late Lavada. Welcome to the show. I wanted to speak with you all today about how to determine wholesale or acquisitions costs, buyers closing costs in a very simple way. This is just a portion or a part of closing costs, or the spread, which is made up of what it takes to buy, what the rehab is, what the holding costs are, what the sales costs are, what your profit is, and if you're a wholesaler, what your profit is as a wholesaler, and what your profit is as a rehabber. So that's what generally makes up the spread on a residential real estate single-family residence. And today what I want to do is talk about just one component of that, and that component is the buyer's acquisition or closing costs piece of that, because it's quite a lot to go over and cover in just one sitting. So I want to break this up for you and down for you, because this is an important component of it. I'm going to share with you a very easy, down and dirty, if you will, way to determine the buyer closing or acquisition costs, and then I'm going to show you an actual HUD, or a settlement statement, a HUD-1 settlement statement of a cash purchase transaction, so that you can know the difference or get into more detail with it. And then I'm going to show you a way, our spreadsheet tool, how you can get access to that to determine all of these costs, and where it'll spit out a purchase price for you. So I'm going to show you where to get that tool as well at the end here. Make sure, if you're getting value out of this video, that you like, subscribe, leave a comment. Check us out on YouTube as well. Subscribe over there, and then we will be uploading this to our podcast as well. But it helps if you like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and even share the video with your friends if you've gotten value out of that. So thanks for being here. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the easy, down and dirty way to, if you will, determine your closing costs. And this works. This is what I use to this day. I really don't get any more in depth with this than what I'm going to describe here. But if you want to know more on how to get a detailed closing cost for your buyer or acquisition side, then I'm going to show you a HUD-1 settlement statement. And then what I want to recommend you do is sit down with your title company, if you have one, or if you don't have one, find an investor-friendly title company, and sit down with them and go over your HUD-1 settlement statements and what those potential costs would be, and then you'll be able to really dial in and fine-tune what those costs are. But again, quite honestly, I don't do anything more complicated than what I'm going to tell you now when I'm putting a property under contract. So very, very easy formula here to determine these buyer acquisitions and buyer closing costs. So here it is. I just take 2% times the purchase price of the property plus rehab. So that's it. So if I'm buying the property for $150,000 and I'm doing a rehab of $40,000, that's $190,000. Let's just round it up and say purchase price plus rehab cost is $200,000. I would just simply multiply that times 2%, or 0.02 times $200,000. Very simple. What does that come out to be? $4,000. That is your estimated closing cost for your transaction. Now, let me tell you a couple things about that. That works really, really good for properties that are about $100,000 to $150,000 up to about $300,000. So if it was a $300,000 purchase price plus your rehab, then you would be looking at 0.02 times 300,000. Now that essentially, you can get even more granular than that. If your loan is 90% of your purchase price and then 100% of rehab, then of course that's what it would be. So it's really actually your loan amount times 0.02% to even get more specific. So if your loan amount is $300,000, and that would include your acquisition and your rehab costs, then it's 0.02% times that. So that would be, again, $6,000. So that's your closing cost. Now that doesn't consider any holding costs. Now I did do another video in regards to that, and I'm putting out more videos in regards to these other components of the spread that I mentioned earlier. So watch for those as they come out. You'll definitely want to check those out, and then I will finish up with a final spread video to bring it all together. But again, very simply, 0.02% times your loan amount or your purchase price plus your rehab costs. Now, if your purchase price, you're only going to get a loan for 90% of that. Let's say again it's $100,000 and you're going to get 90% of that. That would be $90,000 plus your rehab of, let's say, $50,000. That's $140,000 times 0.02%. That would be your closing cost or your acquisitions cost. Now again, every lender, every rehabber, every situation is different. So it's an estimate. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. So when you're wholesaling these properties, it really depends on your end buyer, and you're never going to actually be able to guess that. So this again is just an estimate. So you could even say, what's my after repair value? What's my after repair value times 0.02%? So if my after repair value after you fix it up is $250,000, you could just multiply that times 2.02% and come out with $5,000. Now you might be a little bit high doing that, but it's just a really quick, easy formula. You might be $500 to $1,000, but it's really, really super quick way to determine that buyer acquisitions cost. Now, I'm going to bring up a HUD here real quick for you, and I'm going to show you what this looks like on a HUD-1 settlement statement so you know what it looks like. But again, if you really want to get granular about this, go and sit down with a title officer or an agent at the title company, marketing agent at the title company, to go over a HUD in the area to determine what these buyer costs may be in your area for a cash deal. But honestly, I get no more complex than what I just told you. Sometimes I'll do 0.02% times the after repair value if I don't know what the purchase price is going to be, and I just come up with a very close number. Don't get overcomplicated. Don't overcomplicate this. But this is one piece of the spread that I mentioned before, which is what are all those costs in between your buy price and your after repair value. What are those costs? And this buyer acquisition closing cost is a piece of that. So let me bring up the HUD really quickly, and I will show you here what some of these costs are made up of on the HUD. So give me just a little second here. I'm going to, okay, let's see. All right, so what do we have here? So this is a HUD of an actual closed transaction, and what I want to show you is that this is on a property that we purchased, and this is that has two sides of this HUD-1 settlement statement. It has the seller side and it has the buyer side. And so if you look at this, on the buyer side it says we're purchasing this property, total consideration. That's how much we're buying it for. $140,000. Now, I've redacted, if you will, or just hidden some information here. This is just the lender information. I didn't want to bring up all the information on this HUD. But at any rate, this is some of the loan charges. Now, on this HUD, it says that the buyer closing costs at the top. Now, this one happens to be at the top. Sometimes it's at the bottom. And that's another good thing to throw in here, is that every HUD or HUD-1 settlement statement, think about it as a receipt for the transaction. Everyone's going to be slightly different, meaning where are you going to find stuff? I usually see it at the bottom. This happens to be at the top. And so the total buyer closing funds is $35,727.61. Now you say that's a lot different than 2% of the ARV or 2% of the actual loan amount. Yes, it is. So you have to really understand what's going on here on this HUD or closing statement. This here is including the down payment, so the 10% down of the loan. It's also, which is not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about just the money to close the transaction as far as closing fees, not down payment, okay, not points, not interest, not lender fees in this regard, because I'm just talking about the closing costs. So in order to get the number off of this $140,000 purchase price, what the actual just closing cost would be. And some people might say, well, lender costs are included in there too. But I'm showing you how to do this with because this is a hard money or soft money or private money lender. There's going to be points and some fees, and I'm going to show you how to estimate that separate of this. So when I'm talking about closing costs, I'm talking about the real closing costs, not the lender costs, and I'm not talking about the down payment. Okay, so if we took and added this $9.99 fee up, this lender fee of $677, which is this is a service fee and a lender fee, okay, and then it's got some prepaid interest because we closed it in the beginning of the month. So that would have to be backed out of this total money required to close on this transaction. And then you would have to, so you back out that number, and then you would back out the down payment. Now the down payment of this is actually 10%, so that's $28,000. Okay, 10% of 140 is 28,000 plus 1,000, that's 29, plus another 1,600. So we're talking about, let's say, $3,700 plus another $1,000. Okay. So what am I at there? 31,700. It's 32,700. 33,700 plus another 700. 34,500. 34. I think I said 34,500. Excuse me if I didn't remember that right. So we'd back that out of here as well. And I don't know if my math is good on that because I'm doing the video, but I just want to say that you're backing out the lender fees and you're backing out your down payment, okay? Then you would subtract it from this fee right here. And then everything else, let me just show you what that is. I don't want to take time to do the calculator, so I'm just showing you some quick math here, what the numbers are regarding to this. So we have escrow fees, we have lender's policy, we have owner's policy, and this is in the state of Nevada, by the way. We have a binder fee. We have another CPL fee. And again, the title companies is going to be a little bit different for everywhere. So go over with your title company what these are and what they're for. That's not the purpose of this video. And then recording fees. And then we've got a county transfer tax, which is a fee that I'm paying as the buyer.